Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood? What were you like as a child?
As a child, I started school in Bolivar when I was a child, and we lived on a farm that I helped every morning milk the cows before I went to school. And then my grandfather took us to school. And then we came home in the afternoons and played around and did chores again. Of course, we heated our house with wood, so we had to carry wood in. We did have electricity, but my grandparents did.
Can you tell me about one or two people who has been the biggest influence in your life?
That's what?
Been the biggest influence in your life?
Oh, okay. The biggest influence on my life. One of my biggest influences was a high school teacher, Miss Childs, and she taught English classes. And I just thought she was wonderful. I loved those classes. They really made an impression on me. And I think also one of my others was that my father had gone to school here in Bolivar on a farm, and then he went to MU and got a 4-year degree. And then he worked for the federal government, and eventually he got his own farm. And I was just impressed with how he could do things and how he, got something on his mind to do, and we did it. And he always said, if it's good enough to do, it's good enough to do it right the first time.
What advice would you give to your teenage self?
Probably, I was not a very outgoing as a small child or a teenager either. And that would probably be one of the things. The advice would be for me to ask more questions. I was very inquisitive, but I didn't ask questions. If you told me, that was fine. I liked to read it, but I didn't really ask questions of people and visit with them like I wish I could have.
Are there any positive moments or memories from your life that you think shaped who you are today?
Okay, one of the things that shaped me would be that I had 5 children. That had to be one of my moments, especially when I had my last 2 that were twins. That was kind of a surprise. But yeah, that would be a moment that really shaped me.
Are there any negative events or memories that shaped who you are today?
I can't really think of any right now that was negative. The one experience I've got to say that I really didn't enjoy was I wasn't a very good farmer. I didn't love that work.
Can you tell me about some of the most important lessons you've learned in life?
Say that again.
Can you tell me about some of the most important lessons you've learned in life?
Okay. The first lesson I think I learned from my parents, was to be honest. They always tell the truth, don't make up stories. Also, they taught me that it's good to be able to work and to know how to do it. And that way you do accomplish something, where if you don't work at it, you won't accomplish. And they really impressed me with education. They thought everybody should have as much education as they could have. And they always said that their gift to us, my brother and sister and me, was a college education. So we would be able to support ourselves and enjoy what we were doing and make your life better.
What are you proudest of?
Oh, proudest. That was a word I wasn't getting. Proudest. Professionally, I think that I became a registered nurse. I think that's got to be one of my things. And I taught in the School of Nursing in Springfield, and then I became a school nurse, which became the love of my life, to be a school nurse. So I think that's probably the thing I'm most proud of, is achieving that and being able to work at something I enjoyed.
In your personal life, what is your proudest achievement or
personal life. Gibbs, that's my proudest achievement. My proudest achievement in my personal life would have to be my 5 children, and now my 14 grandchildren and my 1 great-granddaughter. But they have just, they're just so special. You don't realize that until you have children, and especially grandchildren.
Can you tell me the dumbest thing you've ever done in your life?
The dumbest thing. One of the things I did when I was a teenager that was not my best moment was when I wanted to go to an overnight party, and my parents said no, but I could go, but I had to come home, at 10 or 11 o'clock, only I didn't come home. And they came about 3 o'clock in the morning, they came looking for me. And that was not one of my best decisions to do that.
How would you like to be remembered, like, once you've passed?
Okay, I would like to be remembered as someone who was hardworking, honest, fair, and that people appreciated what I did and that I had an influence on their lives. I hope especially I had an influence on my children and grandchildren's lives.
Do you have any regrets?
No, I don't think I do have any regrets, Gibbs. I'm pretty happy with the way things are, but no, I really don't have any regrets.
What are your hopes and wishes for me and for my children to come?
I think for you and all of my descendant children and grandchildren would be that, number one, they do something they enjoy. I hope whatever you do in life, whatever path you choose, it's something you enjoy doing and something you'll want to do forever. I always thought it would be awful to work at a job you hated. And I know there are people that have done that their whole life. So I would, number one, would like for you to have an education and be able to have the kind of job you want, whatever that might be. Also to have a happy life, to find people that you associate with, somebody you can love and build a family with.
If you knew this was going to be our last conversation, is there anything you'd want me to know or share with me?
I think if this was our last conversation, I would want you to know, number one, how much I love you and how much I love how you are and what you are. You're just a very great person in your own way. You're unique. You're not like anybody else. And I think you need to cherish that and keep it that way. Don't be influenced by other people telling you what to do. Do what you want to do and what you enjoy. And you'll be happy that way.
Thinking about our family many generations from now, and knowing that they may hear this recording, is there anything you want to say to them, or any wisdom or advice you'd like to share with them?
The whole family. Well, I hope in the future generation that everyone will achieve what I said that I hope that you would achieve, and that they have established themselves in a nice, happy life doing what they like to do. And I hope they realize that money is not the greatest thing. Money's okay, and it would not be very much fun not to have money, but to have enough money, you can live a nice life. That would be what I would tell them.
Was there a moment, event, or person in your life who shaped your political views?
My political views were shaped by my father. I should say my entire family, who were always members of the Democratic Party, and they were very involved in it. We used to say, my brother and sister and I, that we did well on all the social studies classes at school because while we milked the cows in the morning, my dad switched from one commentator to the next. So I had all the things that were happening in the world right in my head, so I knew what was going on, but it really shaped how I thought about my political views. And they have not really changed much. I still have pretty much the same political views.
So kind of piggybacking off what you just said, how have your political views changed over time? Was there specific?
No, say that again, how?
How have your political views changed over time?
Okay, they really have not changed that much. I still have the basic view. I think in my occupation as a school nurse, I saw lots of children and families who did not have anything. There have been times I'd had to search to get somebody to take care of a kid's broken arm because they didn't have money. And that really has changed, probably as much as anything, changed my political views to broaden that, number one, health care. Everyone should be health care, and we should all get the same level of health care. I think that's one of the main things that changed is that I've just added that in more to what I originally thought of my political. Probably right at this time, I think that politics has become very ugly. It used to be that you could believe one thing, I could believe something else, but we could still talk about it. We didn't attack one another and make demeaning comments about each other. And now I really feel like that is happening, is that if you don't believe the same thing I believe, everything about you is wrong. And I think that is the main thing in political views that has changed. We definitely need to get back to respecting each other's opinion, although we don't always have to have the same opinion. But that can be, we can respect that.
Why did you agree to do this interview today?
Why? What?
Why did you agree to do this interview today?
Oh, because my grandson asked me to do it. That's why.
So, what was the worst thing you remember my mother ever doing when she was a child?
Your mother was very opinionated, strong-willed, just as she is today. And sometimes that got her in trouble because she was that way. Her friends tended to be the same. They were strong-willed and opinionated. And I think probably that got her in more trouble than anything. Although I will say she worked very hard and she could be such a sweet, loving child, but at times she wasn't.
So I don't know if you can answer this question, but do you know the story of why and how our ancestors came to this country?
No, I really don't.
Hey, can you tell me about how your parents were growing up, like in your childhood?
How
like
they're growing up?
No, like how they were like when you grew up. Like what did they do? How like?
Okay, my parents were. They met when my father was working for the federal government in the Department of Agriculture, and my mother was his secretary. And that's how they met. And they got married, and we eventually moved to the farm. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. For the first few years, when I was a teenager, she began working as a secretary for somebody in town. But until then, she'd been a stay-at-home mom. And my dad, of course, on the farm was there all the time. And we did help on the farm. We, worked. But they were very supportive of us in every way. And it's kind of a story that we all tell, that we can only remember one fight our parents ever had. And we all remember the same one. And that's the only time I ever saw them crossways with each other. And I still don't know what it was about, but that one time.
Of the people you've lost in your life, who do you miss the most, and what is it about them that you miss?
The people I've lost, of course, my mom and dad, my brother. My brother died in 2000, so he was only 62. And those were big losses. And I don't know, my brother at 62, I think, really hit. When your parents are in their 80s, you know that, they're going to die. But my brother, I didn't. And that was really a huge loss for me when he died.
So you talked a little bit about earlier, a teacher that you had. So can you tell me about maybe another teacher or adult that had a big impact on your life when you were growing up?
Another teacher?
Or adult?
Yeah, there was another. In fact, there were a couple of teachers that really had an impact on me. One was the band teacher, which I'm not a real musical person, but him and his wife taught band and vocal music, and they were just really outstanding people and were just so good with the kids then. We did anything for them because we all admired them so much. The other one that had an impression on me was my home economics teacher, which I took that for 4 years. So I had 4 years I had her, and she was just really good at what she did and how she presented it to kids.
Do you feel misunderstood by people who have different beliefs than you? And if you do, how so?
I've got to say one thing is, well, of course, politics, we talked about that. That's one thing. Religion would be another thing, but I don't really feel, I think people are pretty tolerant here with religion. We're kind of not a real diversified community, which is, as far as being integrated. I never saw or spoke to an African American until I was in nursing school. And that was, some of the aides were African American, but until then I didn't. And there's still, of course, there was nobody in my school that was. Nobody was they were all just white. We didn't have anything else. So that's one thing. Diversity is not too great here, although it's better than it used to be. So I don't know that, and I know people do get attacked for their religion, but that didn't happen to me.
Can you tell me about you talked about earlier how your parents taught you a lot of things. Can you tell me a story about any lessons you've learned from your parents?
Like I said, one of the main lessons I learned was to be honest and hardworking. Both my parents did that, and like they did say, if you're going to do it right, which we always did. And I think of that sometimes, even now, that if you're going to take the time to do it, if it's worth it, do it right the first time, so you don't have to redo it.
Can you tell me about when you found out you were going to be a mother? Do you remember the moment when you first saw my mom, and how did it make you feel?
Oh, when I first saw her?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Your mom was my second child. But yes, that was a really special, for every child, it's really special when they're born. To the mom, it is. And it was when she was born.
What was my mother like when she was growing up? Do you have any stories about her?
Your mother was, she liked to be around people. She's always been that way. She liked having, she had a lot of friends, and they would come to our house and she would go to their house. In fact, she's still friends today with some of the people she knew in high school. That was probably one of the things. She was very inquisitive, so she wanted to know things. And she was one of my children who took to driving when she was about 13. Because we lived on a farm, and she'd drive around. Sometimes she'd go to my grandparents' house, which was down the road. But she always did things like that. But she wanted to do the best. That was one thing about her, was everything she did, she wanted it to be the best.
Did you like school when you were growing up, and did you think that education was important to a better life?
I did like school. I really liked going to school, I've got to say. I always thought it was important, and I don't know if part of that's because it was so stressed by my parents, but I did. I loved school, even, up through high school and college. I really did. There was always something to learn and something new that you would be faced with.
What did you do during the summer when you were off from school?
When I was home from school during the summer, remember, I lived on a working farm, and I helped. We'd bale hay and haul it in, and one of my favorite stories was when, I don't know how old I was, probably 8 or 9. It was coming a pouring rain, and they were harvesting wheat. Had a whole wagon full of wheat and a bunch of other stuff to bring in. They put me on the tractor with the wheat wagon and told me to drive it into the barn, which you could go through the barn, go in one end, go out the other. Well, I did that, but they forgot to tell me how to stop the tractor. So there I was, driving round and round, in and out of the barn, till somebody finally got over there and told me how to stop the tractor.
If you could go back and relive your teenage years, would you? And why or why not?
Probably. I enjoyed my teenage years. Of course, when you live in a small town, all the kids in your class, your friends, and you go through school, most of them 12 years or so in the same school. We had things in the summer we did that, we swam a lot and down at the swimming pool, and we cruised around in our cars. Although I didn't have a car, but I have a friend whose dad was a Ford dealer, so she always had a car. That was nice. And we'd cruise around and, go to each other's houses. It was really fun. We enjoyed it.
Switching to your professional life, did you feel like your job was calling you? Why? And if why? And why do you believe this is your call? That was your calling?
Everybody, I will say, when I was younger, because I loved animals, I was the person that they brought all the injured animals to. I had a possum once, and I had rabbits, and just anything that they found out in the field, they brought it to me. So everybody said, well, you should be a nurse. Okay. I just thought about that. And so that's what I did from early on. That's what I was thinking, that's what I would do. And I did like nursing. I really loved school nursing, I must say. That was the one area. It is just so wonderful to be able to help children. And a lot of the children needed help. And we did a lot of things. It wasn't just being nursing. You were also the social worker and the psychologist, but it was great. I loved doing that and helping the kids in whatever.
Um, do you have any favorite stories from when you were a school nurse?
Hmm. There would just be so many of them, Gibbs. I don't know. What, all the, it is, you get to know all the kids. And they come in to see you a lot. I know I had one little boy one time, and I asked him what his name was, and he said Tim. And I said, well, what's the rest of your name? Meaning his last name. Uthi. His last name was Uthi. But there are lots of times from when kids were hurt or injured or sick, looking at back at that. And then there were my frequent flyers that just loved to come see me.
How did you find your way to being a school nurse?
Okay, we were living in Bolivar. We didn't have a hospital here. And I was working in Springfield. I was teaching at the School of Nursing, and I had 5 children, so it was, because you don't just drive to Springfield and run back home if something happens. It was just convenient when that opened up to be a school nurse. I had the same hours as my kids, and basically that's what really got me into the job. But I stayed in the job because I really liked working with the kids and the kids' families.
What does religion and spirituality mean to you, and what role does it play in your life?
Okay, religion, I've always been a member of the First Christian Church here in Bolivar. And religion is important to me. I think it would be difficult if you didn't believe in a higher being. I do think that everybody, all of us really, although we go about it a different way, I think we all believe in the same God. Even though, another religion might think some different things than we do. And I think partially mine, because the Christian church is very liberal in their beliefs. They really do not tell you what to believe. For some places, some religions do this, and this. So that's why I think it is important. I think it would be very difficult to go through life without believing in God. It just gives you a lot of comfort, and it just makes your life, it rounds out your life a whole lot.
So, knowing that all over the world there's different religions that believe in different things, is there one that you think is right, or do you think each one plays a role in each different community all over the world?
I think each one plays a role in each different community, and I know there are a lot of people that don't think that. They think their religion's the only way. But I know at one point I was working on a project, and I had to get all the churches, a list of all the churches in Bolivar, or the Bolivar area. There were over 50 churches, which, if Bolivar is not a huge town, and all those people believe something different, but I still think we all believe in the same God. I think that other stuff that we believe in, something we've invented along the way.
Do you have any favorite religious holidays, and what do they mean to you?
My favorite religious holiday, it's got to be Christmas. I've always loved Christmas. All the family comes, you get to decorate, and I just really love Christmas.
Is it important to you to pass on your religious beliefs to your children?
Yes, it is important, and I probably have not been very good at that, and passing it on. But it is important, and that everybody have a religious belief.
When you were growing up, what role did religion play in your life?
Okay, when I was growing up, we went to the same church that I go to now, and we went every Sunday. My dad did not always go because he stayed home and worked. I think that was his excuse. But my mom did, and us kids did. It was just important. And in a town like Bolivar, where religion, we are really a religious town. We have a Baptist university here, and I just think it made a difference because everybody in town held religion to a little bit higher standard, I think, than in some towns.
Have you ever had a profound religious experience?
No, I haven't. And I know people that have, but no, I haven't.
Are there any traditions that have been passed down from your grandma to your mother to you, then you've passed on to my mother and my aunts?
I think that probably the one thing I can think of that has been passed between my grandmothers and my mom and on down to my children is our love of family. And I think with family, we like to have family gatherings. We like to cook and feed that family. We're just real big on that. But that is one thing that has been through all my life, has been the huge family gatherings we have.
I think that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
We're done, Oscar. Now, what do? Do you edit that out, or?